Hello, I'm Pastor Grace.
I'm Chaplain Tony.
And this is Scrolling Through the Scriptures. And we welcome you back. And so we have looked through, our last lesson was Genesis 41 through 44 as Joseph was testing his brothers as they came to buy grain during the famine.
Brothers who done him wrong.
Absolutely. And so we had the test of their conscience, of their character, and whether or not they had learned compassion. And so far they have met those tests.
Yes.
And so now we are on to chapter 45. But before we begin, would you open us in prayer, please?
I certainly would. Holy Father, once again we thank you so much for opening the scriptures to us, for giving your Holy Spirit to us so that our eyes may be opened and we may see the glorious truth of your word. Father, meet us where we are and open those truths to us that we may know you more, know you better, and know you deeper. Bless the message of Joseph. Help it minister to our lives and help us grow more in your love. And we ask this in Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so let's jump right into chapter 45. And I think we'll get through the end of Genesis on this lesson.
I think so.
I think so. Let's see if I have this set up right.
Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him.
Make everyone go out from me.
So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers,
I am Joseph. Does my father still live?
But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence.
Please, come near to me.
So they came near.
I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And God sent me before you to preserve a posterity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Hurry, and go up to my father and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near to me, you and your children, your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. There I will provide for you, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, for there are still 5 years of famine. And behold, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. So you shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and of all that you have seen. And you shall hurry and bring my father down here.
Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. And after that, his brothers talked with him.
I'd love to know some of that conversation.
Yeah.
Um,
What would you say if the brother that you thought you had sold,
well, that they had
sold,
and to hear what he had done and what they had done.
yeah,
To hear Judah tell about what happened with Tamar. And hear the other stories.
or what stories got left out?
Right. Their sense of guilt. So Joseph he has played this tough guy for as long as he could. And now he has just broken down and has said, I'm your brother Joseph. I can't play the charade anymore. And he's let them know he has forgiven them, that this was not them that did this. Yes, they went through the motions and they sold him into slavery, but this was all part of God's plan. That they were just a part of God's plan. And that Joseph realizes this. He had no idea at the time. He was not just going along, oh, well, this is part of God's plan for my life, and so I'm going into slavery. I'm going into jail. I'm sitting in jail for years. I'm this, that, and the other. None of us go through trials, I think, in hardship saying, well, this is part of God's plan, and let's just wait and see what happens. We may know that everything that happens to us, that God has a plan and God can use it for His glory, but none of us sit there gleefully saying, oh, well, let's just wait and see what happens.
Oh, goody goody, I'm suffering.
I'm suffering. Things are horrible. That's not the way we live reality. It's, oh my God, what is happening? What is happening? How can this be happening to me? What have I done that has caused this to be happening to me? It's only when we look back that we can see how God was at work.
It's more, why me? What have I ever done to deserve,
Yes. So, this full revelation, and so now he sends for his father and the rest of the family.
Now, the report of it was heard in Pharaoh's house.
Joseph's brothers have come.
So it pleased Pharaoh and his servants well. And Pharaoh said to Joseph,
Say to your brothers, do this. Load your animals and depart. Go to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your households and come to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are commanded, do this. Take carts out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives. Bring your father and come. Also, do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours.
Then the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them carts according to the command of Pharaoh, and he gave them provisions for the journey. He gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments. But to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he sent to his father these things: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they departed. And he said to them,
See that you do not become troubled along the way.
Then they went up out of Egypt and came to the land of Canaan, to Jacob their father.
Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt.
And Jacob's heart stood still, because he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words which Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the carts which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived,
It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.
The joy within his heart and soul.
Yes.
The absolute and utter joy. Now then, Pharaoh has welcomed all of these brothers and has said, go send for your father, send for the whole family, bring them in. Now remember what he said there when they were having the dinners, that Joseph had to sit separately because to eat with the Hebrews was an abomination. So now all these Hebrews are coming in.
Yes.
And Pharaoh has said, we'll give them the best, the best is going to be theirs. And Joseph is promising them the land of Goshen, which is near the Nile Delta. And so, which is now, because of the famine, which is probably due to drought, most likely, is not very fertile, but
It would be the best of what they have.
it would be better. Yeah, it would be the best of what they had. So, but it's going to be away from the cities. It is farmland. It's not the metropolitan area, which for them is great. They do not want to be, they don't need to be corrupted by the Egyptian lifestyle. Think back to what happened to Lot. When Lot took his flocks and his herds and he went to the area of Sodom and Gomorrah and was down in that land, he took the best of the land. When Abraham gave him that chance to choose, he took the fertile land, but he then went into the cities. And he and his family got so entrapped in everything that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah that they almost lost their lives there. His wife lost her life.
Yeah. Turned into a pillar of salt looking back.
Yes. And so this is not going to, they don't want to get caught in that same trap. They want to stay away from the Egyptian culture. They need to stay separate. They need to stay apart. So let's move on to chapter 46. Now Jacob is going to do something that that his grandfather Abraham failed to do the first time he went to Egypt. First time he went to Egypt, he did not inquire of the Lord. He just went to Egypt when there was a famine. But Jacob is going to inquire of the Lord.
So Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night.
Jacob. Jacob.
Here I am.
I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt, for I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes.
Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him.
Okay, I just want to make sure, if you look back at Genesis, the 21st chapter, in verse 33, let's see, 21:33. And that's where it talks about, then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and there called on the name of the Lord. And then also in Genesis 26, verses 23 and 24. Talking about Isaac. It says, then Isaac went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of your father Abraham, do not fear, for I am with you. I will bless you and multiply your descendants for my servant Abraham's sake. So Beersheba is a prominent place for them. And so now Jacob has gone to Beersheba to inquire of the Lord and say, okay, he's gone to offer a sacrifice there and say, Lord, what should I do? What should I do? And he's saying, go. I'm going to make you a great nation there. This is all part of my plan. Because remember, God had told Abraham, they will be strangers in a land for 400 years. And then they will come into the land of promise.
Yep.
So they took their livestock and their goods, which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt. Jacob and all his descendants with him, his sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his descendants he brought with him to Egypt. Now these were the names of the children of Israel, Jacob and his sons, who went to Egypt. Reuben was Jacob's firstborn. The sons of Reuben were Hanok, Pallu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon were Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah were Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. The sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puvah, Job, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun were Sered, Elan, and Jaleel. These were the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Jacob in Padan Aram, with his daughter Dinah. All the persons, his sons and his daughters, were 33. The sons of Gad were Ziphian, Haggai, Shunai, Esban, Eri, Arodai, and Areli. The sons of Asher were Jimnah, Ishua, Isui, Beriah, and Serah, their sister. And the sons of Beriah were Heber and Malchiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter. And these she bore to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, were Joseph and Benjamin. And to Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore to him. The sons of Benjamin were Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rash, Mappim, Happim, and Ard. These were the sons of Rachel, who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The son of Dan was Hushim. The sons of Naphtali were Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem. These were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and she bore these to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons who went with Jacob to Egypt, who came from his body, besides Jacob's sons' wives, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph who were born to him in Egypt were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who went to Egypt were 70. Then he sent Judah before him to Joseph to point out before him the way to Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. So Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And he presented himself to him, and fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while. And Israel said to Joseph,
Now let me die, since I have seen your face, because you are still alive.
Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household,
I will go up and tell Pharaoh, and say to him, My brothers and those of my father's house, who were in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for their occupation has been to feed livestock. And they have brought their flocks, their herds, and all that they have. So it shall be, when Pharaoh calls you and says, What is your occupation? That you shall say, Your servant's occupation has been with livestock from our youth even till now, both we and also our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians.
Shepherds have been an abomination to many a folk through the centuries.
Yes.
Ever watch a Western movie and you see shepherds are not well liked? Sheep generally eat down to the ground, and so then the cattle can't
They even
feed.
pull the roots out of the ground, so there's nothing there to grow back.
I need some sheep to get around my flower beds and eat the weeds.
Eat the thistles. That's what we need. A couple of sheep to eat the thistle.
Because no matter how far down the ground I pull the roots out, it comes back. All right. So we're talking about that 66 people came, and then it said 70 people came. So you have the 66 that are coming with Jacob / Israel. But the 66 did not include Jacob himself, did not include Joseph and Joseph's 2 sons, because Joseph and his 2 sons were already there. And so when you add in Jacob himself and Joseph and the 2 sons, that's where you get the number 70. And so then it was a total of 70. And so where we had talked about that separation, that having them in Goshen would keep them separate from being culturally contaminated by the Egyptians, because that is going to be a big issue. We want to keep them, we want them to remain as Israelites, remain as godly people, and not be contaminated by the worship of other gods, and to fall into that trap, to fall into a secular world.
Very similar to what we have today.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to fall into. Oh my gosh, if I miss a certain TV show, heaven forbid. So now we will be on chapter 47, and we're going to go through these next couple of chapters fairly quickly. By the way. Okay, so chapter 47, when they are going to the land of Goshen.
Then Joseph went and told Pharaoh,
My father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan, and indeed they are in the land of Goshen.
and he took 5 men from among his brothers and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers,
What is your occupation?
Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers.
We have come to dwell in the land, because your servants have no pasture for their flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. Now therefore, please, let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen.
Then Pharaoh spoke to Joseph,
Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Have your father and brothers dwell in the best of the land. Let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And if you know any competent men among them, then make them chief herdsmen over my livestock.
And Joseph brought in his father Jacob and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Jacob,
How old are you?
The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers, in the days of their pilgrimage.
So Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from before Pharaoh. And Joseph situated his father and his brothers and gave them a possession in the land of Egypt, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Then Joseph provided his father, his brothers, and all his father's household with bread, according to the number in their families. Now there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph.
Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money has failed.
Give your livestock, and I will give you bread for your livestock, if the money is gone.
So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the cattle of the herds, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. When that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him,
We will not hide from my lord that our money is gone. My lord also has our herds of livestock. There is nothing left in the sight of my lord but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants of Pharaoh. Give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land may not be desolate.
Then Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. For every man of the Egyptians sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh, and they ate their rations which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore, they did not sell their lands. Then Joseph said to the people,
Indeed, I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh. 4/5 shall be your own, a seed for the field and for your food, for those of your households, and as food for your little ones.
You have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants.
And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there, and grew and multiplied exceedingly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. When the time drew near that Israel must die, he called his son Joseph.
Now, if I have found favor in your sight, please put your hand under my thigh and deal kindly and truly with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my fathers. You shall carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial place.
I will do as you have said.
Swear to me.
And he swore to him. So Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed.
So we talked about this a little bit ago, that for 20%, he has bought now all the land, and all the people are now enslaved to Pharaoh. Joseph has gone from being a slave for 20 shekels to buying all of Egypt at their own request.
That was pretty slick.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Israelites are in the land of Goshen. And so they're asking for seed to replant. So the famine is over. But they've got to start planting.
Yes.
It's going to be another year before the crops really start coming back. And it's going to take some time for the land to heal, for the crops. I mean, after a drought of that length of time,
Yeah.
as to really get the crops going again, what does it take, a year, 2 years?
Yeah. It depends upon how depleted the soil is.
Well, it's been 7 years.
Yeah. And nothing has grown. Has there been, was this like the Dust Bowl drought that we had back in the 20s? Has the topsoil all blown away? You don't.
Yeah.
But it was the worst drought in the land, so.
Yeah. How long it took for things to really get back to quote unquote normal. But Jacob is there. He's there for 17 years before he passes away. So Egypt is back to rolling back to normal by the time Jacob dies, and was made to promise that, do not bury me in Egypt. Take me back.
Take me back.
To where Abraham and Sarah, where Isaac and Rachel and Leah are buried. And so, where mom and dad are buried. Let me be with them.
And I was looking back through here, trying to find where it was so I could read it. But anyway, when Joseph took his father to meet Pharaoh,
Yes.
what does his father do?
Blesses Pharaoh.
He blesses Pharaoh.
Yes. Yes.
Wonder what Pharaoh thought of that.
I would think at this point, Pharaoh would have thought it kind of nice.
Yeah, that could be.
Because the Egyptians were polytheistic.
Yes.
They worshiped many gods. So for this kindly old man
To bless him.
to bless him with his God was cute. was nice.
It was nice.
Yeah. That was sweet.
I thought it was sweet too.
Yeah. 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 So we have a see, in chapter 48 we now have the blessings of the 12 children by Jacob. As he is about to breathe his last, he will bless the 12 children. But I want you to realize there are 12 children, but he is going to divide everything 13 ways. Okay? And Joseph will get 2/13. Now, to make this simpler way to understand, let's say there are 3 children and he's going to divide it 4 ways, and one child is going to get half and the other 3 children are going to get 1/4. Am I saying that right?
One will get 1/2 and the other 2 will get 1/2.
Right.
So they would get,
So there are 3 children and he's dividing it in fourths. So
a fourth and a half.
a fourth, and a half.
Yeah.
So Joseph's going to be getting a double portion. So let us go into chapter 48.
Now it came to pass after these things that Joseph was told,
Indeed, your father is sick.
and he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Jacob was told,
Look, your son Joseph is coming to you.
and Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. Then Jacob said to Joseph,
God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a multitude of people, and give this land to your descendants after you as an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon. They shall be mine. Your offspring, whom you beget after them, shall be yours. They will be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. But as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem.
Then Israel saw Joseph's sons.
Who are these? They are my sons, whom God has given me in this place.
Please bring them to me, and I will bless them.
Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. Then Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph,
I had not thought to see your face, but in fact, God has also shown me your offspring.
So Joseph brought them from beside his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh with his left hand toward Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. Then Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, guiding his hands knowingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph.
God, before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has fed me all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads. Let my name be named upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
Now when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. So he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father,
Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head.
But his father refused.
I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. But truly, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his descendants shall become a multitude of nations.
So he blessed them that day.
By you Israel will bless, saying, May God make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh.
And thus he set Ephraim before Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph,
Behold, I am dying, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and my bow.
Okay, so that one portion above the brothers is where he's giving them a double portion.
Yes.
And so the whole thing of laying his right hand on Ephraim and his left hand on Manasseh. Well, remember that Jacob was the younger, Esau was the older, and Jacob took Esau's birthright over a bowl of soup.
Yeah.
Esau came in and was so very, very hungry, and he said, "What's my birthright? You know,
My birthright for a bowl of soup.
yeah, I'm starving to death." And so Jacob gave him a bowl of soup and had his older brother's birthright. I mean, they were twins, but Esau was born first, so he should have gotten first choice of everything. And he despised his birthright and gave it to Jacob. And then when their father was in bad shape and he was blessing them, they tricked Isaac into blessing Jacob, thinking he was blessing Esau. And so he got this huge blessing. And a father's blessing was a prophecy of what would happen. It wasn't just well wishes, it was a prophecy of what would happen in the future, of how your life and your generations would go from there.
And it was sort of like the advanced reading of the will. It was who would get the property, and then what was left over for the other male siblings.
Oh, right. Yes. It was. It's like the advanced reading. And I go back to where you had said, think of Abraham like a sheik.
Yeah.
With this huge thing. And so now we could think of Jacob/Israel in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
As a sheik, and he's got all these sons. He has all these herds and flocks and all that. And his sons are still there in the region. And so, all right. chapter 49. So we've had the blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh, of Joseph's two sons. Now we're going to have the blessing of his actual children. And so he's claiming Ephraim and Manasseh as his own sons. That is a more of a what's the word I'm looking for? An honorary type thing, an honorarium.
Yes, yeah.
It's giving them the same privileges, but
As a son.
as a son, yes. So let's see how the other kids, what blessings they receive, and he will go by age.
And Jacob called his sons.
Gather together, that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel, because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch.
Okay, here, Tony, if you'll remember, this is where, remember, Reuben went and slept with one of his father's concubines.
Yes.
And so that is why he was not going to be able to be the next patriarch.
Yes.
The next patriarch, because he was knocked out of line. Even though he was the firstborn, he is completely knocked out of the line of being able.
Yes.
So let's see who's next as we're having all of these blessings.
Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Israel.
All right. Simeon and Levi, their sister Dinah
Was raped.
If I got the right sister?
Yes.
Okay. Was raped, and so they avenged her by slaying that entire city-state once they had been circumcised. And so Levi, later on, we learn, is scattered because the Levites become priests and they own no land, and they are scattered amongst the tribes to be the priest, which is a great honor, but they have no possessions. So they are scattered amongst the tribe. Simeon, later on, we learn, is absorbed into another tribe. And is just kind of just, because they are so small, they're just kind of absorbed into another tribe.
Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion, who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk.
This is a foreshadowing of the Christ.
Yes.
Tying the donkey and the donkey's colt, that then later Jesus says the donkey and the donkey's colt, which is tied up together.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I have need of them.
Yes.
But Judah is the one who, when it comes time for when they were going back into Egypt to get food the second time, and Reuben had said, if anything happens to Benjamin, you can kill me. Mm-hmm. Or no, he says, you can kill my sons. Judah says, if anything happens to Benjamin, it's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me. Mm-hmm. And, I will sacrifice myself. I will give myself as pledge.
Not someone else. Me.
Myself.
Me.
And he used that same terminology that then later is used by Christ, that pledge, that bond. So Judah is the tribe that is going to be for the chosen one, for the Messiah to come down through. Yes. Now we'll listen to the other blessings. And so Judah is now the premier, it is now the chosen, is going to be the top of the clan.
The Lion of Judah.
Exactly.
Zebulun shall dwell by the haven of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall adjoin Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey. Lying down between two burdens, he saw that rest was good, and that the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder to bear a burden, and became a band of slaves.
Now, there's nothing wrong with helping to bear someone's burdens. Mm-hmm. To help bear someone's burdens.
Yes.
But when you find it easier to bear someone else's burdens than to bear your own.
Your own, right.
That's when you become someone else's slave. That is when it's like, I can't deal with my own life. I will just I'll just deal with yours. And that's when you become someone else's slave, or the slave to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's where we're saying that Issachar is a strong donkey, lying down between two burdens. And so they became a band of slaves, because it wasn't that they were lazy. It was just the opposite. It was, what's going on in my household and my tribe and my family is too much to deal with. So let me go help you out. Staying away from their own, having to fight for their own land was too much. So I'll go help you out. I can help, you've got a good plan. Let me help you out. Let me help, And so becoming a burden, helping others out so much that they do not help themselves.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels so that its rider shall fall backward. I have waited for your salvation, O Lord. Gad, a troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He uses beautiful words. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a well. His branches run over the wall. The archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him and hated him, but his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. By the God of your father who will help you, and by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breasts and of the womb, the blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil.
Let's talk about Joseph and his blessings. So we starts off with the archers have bitterly grieved him there in verse 23. No one shot at him. No bow hunters went after him.
Right.
But it was his brothers. And how much does Jacob know? How much does Dad know about what his older brothers did to him?
Good question. Would that story have all come out when the meeting with Joseph and Jacob happened in Egypt?
Or over the
Course of the miles traveled?
because Jacob has lived there 17 years and now he is dying. So over the last 17 years has this story come out of Jacob asking Joseph, how did you get here?
Or Jacob asking the brothers, how did your brother get there? You told me he was dead. You showed me the bloody coat.
But asking, well, they saw the bloody coat, but he would be, in his visits with Joseph, he's like, Joseph, your brother showed me your bloody coat. What happened? What happened? How did you get away from the beast? Your coat was so bloody. Who rescued you?
Yeah.
How, what happened? Did he make up a story? We don't know those details.
Yeah.
We don't know those details. But he knows that he was, but something happened that it was meant for, something evil happened to his son.
Yeah.
Something really bad, and that God gave him strength. It says here, in verse 24, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of Jacob. Yes, mighty God of Jacob. And I just hearken back when I hear that, of Jacob, when Jacob had said, when he was a young man, when he told God so arrogantly, if you get me back to my dad, Isaac, then you will be my God.
And only then.
If you make me successful and bring me back, then you will be my God. I will let you be my God. And now he's just like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue on. And Benjamin, as a ravenous wolf, in the morning he shall devour his prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. Very ambitious, very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Very ambitious, very, I don't know.
He gets things done.
Okay.
He's not sitting around the house all day. So the tribe of Benjamin is one that is out and about and is making sure that the family is fed, that his family is cared for, that his tribe will be cared for, and that he divides things out. He's not keeping it all. He's not greedy. He is
generous.
Generous. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Let's listen to the rest of the chapter.
All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his own blessing. Then he charged them.
I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial place. There
they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is there were purchased from the sons of Heth.
And when Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed and breathed his last, and was gathered to his people.
All right, so Jacob has passed on and is joined his beloved and is to be buried, has asked to be buried with his wife, with Rachel. Am I saying the right name?
Leah.
Leah was his favorite.
Rachel was his favorite.
Rachel was his favorite, being buried with Rachel.
With Leah in the cave.
And there Isaac and his wife Rebekah were buried, and there I buried Leah.
Okay. My apologies. I'm getting the names confused. Maybe I need to drink more coffee this morning.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yes, even us teachers and those who have studied this get the names switched around. So please don't feel bad when you get the names switched around. For those of you who have no problems calling the wrong name, you always call the right name.
You're blessed.
You are blessed beyond measure.
You are blessed.
How many times did your mother call you by the wrong name?
Oh my gosh, she would start with my brother and work down through Barbara and Karen, and she'd finally come to me. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a 5th grade teacher that did the same thing. Yeah.
My brother Wiley, there was 8 of us and 6 boys. So getting to his name took some time. Anyway, so now back to, we'll start on chapter 50, and this is going to be Joseph going to Pharaoh and saying, we've got to go bury Dad. And I made a promise to Dad. Now, the famine is over. For me, the question arises, why don't they all leave Egypt? Why are they staying in Egypt? I don't understand this. But they go and bury. They don't all go. They don't take the whole clan and just move away. Well, I know it's God's plan for them to stay there, but I would like some background. I would like a little more information as to why they stay.
Well, like if Kenneth passed away, if he asked to be buried in Alaska with his first wife, I would go there to bury him, but I wouldn't pick up and move from here.
But they've been told they're chosen, the land that they've been promised is Israel.
That's true.
And they've only come there because there was a famine. So the only reason they have left is because of the famine. Why not go home?
It's hard to pick up and leave the familiar.
They've been there 17 years now. It's home now.
It's home.
All right, so let's see chapter 50.
Home without a capital.
Yes.
Lowercase.
Lowercase c. All right, so chapter 50, and this will close us out on Genesis.
Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Now when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh.
If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I am dying. In my grave which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan, there you shall bury me. Now therefore, please, let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back.
And Pharaoh said,
Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear.
So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, their flocks, and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. There went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great gathering. Then they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they mourned there with a great and very solemn lamentation. He observed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said,
This is a deep mourning of the Egyptians.
Therefore its name was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. So his sons did for him just as he had commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said,
Perhaps Joseph will hate us, and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him.
So they sent messengers to Joseph.
Before your father died, he commanded, saying, Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please, forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father.
And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face.
Behold, we are your servants.
Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones.
And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. So Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the 3rd generation. The children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were also brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brethren, I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel.
God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here.
So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.
And so Joseph is no more. Interesting side note, did you know that part of the embalming process was from the resin of the cedars of Lebanon?
Really?
Yes. Yes. I learned that recently. It's used for medicinal purposes, but the resin in those cedars has such properties as to prevent the tree from decaying and rotting for such a long period of time, and they would use it for embalming.
That would make sense.
It's insect prevented, resistant. So yes. So they have stayed there. They have stayed there. Now he has seen his son's grandchildren, his great-grandchildren.
Yes.
So he's lived a very long life there in Egypt. And we know that they will be there 400 years.
Yes.
So for several generations. And this concludes the book of Genesis, where we started from in the beginning, and God created, to now we have the chosen people, the Israelites, and they're becoming a nation within Egypt. And so we will start next time in the book of Exodus, and I hope that you will join us for that. Let us close in prayer. I know this has been a long lesson, longer than usual, but we wanted to finish out. So I hope you have stayed with us for this whole lesson. Of course, you can pause it and start it again. All right, let's pray. Oh, dearest Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us your word, for giving us this history. It's not just stories, it is history. It is the telling of what took place centuries ago. And it is part of our history, part of our lineage. Lord, help us to take heart when we read it, and as we have learned of our ancestors, that we may learn from their mistakes, and we may learn from all that they did that was good, and would take notice and would try to follow their examples and learn from their faults, and not try to not make the same mistakes, Lord, which is in obedience and disobedience to you. Guide us now as we go through this week, that we would be able to come back together to study your word once again. For it is in Jesus' holiest of names we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Goodbye.